the studios of the Pemberton Township Board of Education's Channel 14, it's time to find out what's cooking. Here now is the head of the Food Services Department at Pemberton Township High School and your host, Tim Paroli.
Hello again, and welcome to another edition of What's Cooking. I'm Tim Paroli, and we're going to show you how you can step-by-step prepare foods that are going to not only be very different, but they're going to be very tasty. Today we're going to show you how to prepare calamari. A lot of people call it bait, squid, but we're going to show you how you can order these nice size squids and how you can prepare them in many different ways, and you'll find out that their taste is very light and very delicate. There's a couple of ways you can purchase them, and most of us are familiar with buying them frozen. However, today we have got some fresh ones here. If you buy them frozen, and like we can, you're going to thaw them in your refrigerator, and then you're going to take these squids. We're going to show you how to clean them, and then what we did with one batch, and then we're going to actually prepare one for you today. We're going to make a sauteed squid patty. It's kind of like a calamari parmesan. So now you know exactly what we're going to do in plain English. These squids are fresh. However, if you purchase them frozen, thaw them out in your refrigerator. Just put the entire block in a little pan so that any of the ice that's going to melt comes off of them. And then once they're thawed out, keep them on ice like we have them today. Now I'm going to put one on the board for you so you can see exactly how they should look once they're thawed out, or if you purchase them fresh. This is the entire animal just the way you'd purchase it, and this is not cooked, so it has this bright red color, and that's just the way it's going to stay. And we're going to show you how to clean it. They come in many different sizes. They'll come in a very tiny size up to a larger jumbo size, and you can even get them larger than the ones I have here. However, this medium-sized squid is very nice for most of the preparation that you will want to use. First of all, we want to identify the parts of the animal so that we know what we're working with. This end is the head end, and these are the tentacles, and this is the body, or the shell of the squid. And to clean the squid, all we're going to do is pull the head part away from the body, just like that. Don't worry about what comes with it and what doesn't. We'll do that head end first. You're going to take the tentacles, and they're all very edible and very good. We're going to leave them together, and you'll see the dark circles there where the eye begins and ends. And we want to start from the tentacle end, go towards that little eye socket, stop right there. And right where those tentacles end, we cut that off. Then we turn that over and make sure that the center here is empty by just inverting that and make sure there's a hollow there. And that's just how it should look, completely clean. And all you're going to have now are the tentacles, and that's nothing there but the squid meat. If you didn't cut close enough, or if you cut too close, you'll remove this little mouth portion. And that's just two little pieces of a clear cartilage, so we'll just get rid of those. Now we've got the squid body to contend with, and most of us are familiar with eating calamari rings, and that is done from the body part that I have here now. And all we're going to do with that is split that so it's very easy to clean. So if this is the first time you're doing these, this is the way I recommend that you start. We split them open just like that, all the way. Open it up, and if you look inside, you'll probably be surprised the first time you look. There's not a whole lot in there. Got these two little pieces that look like a plastic windshield wiper. That's the backbone. And then you just take your knife and scrape out all the parts that we don't want. And we're going to get rid of those. Now, what we have left are two pieces of the squid, just the meat itself. So we're going to put them back on ice. And we're going to clean one more, but we're going to show you that afterwards. So we're going to clean this one right now. This is a very large body with the head removed. We're going to show you where we put the tentacles for this one. Now again, we're going to just split this one. And we're just going to clean this one out the same way. Now whether they're full of sand, it'll be the same as the little guys. Just take those little pieces that look like plastic out. Let me make sure this is split all the way down. And then we just pull out that backbone, and we scrape that right off. and you'll have them completely cleaned. And then we'll into our ice, and we get rid of the parts that we're not going to use. And that way we have them completely cleaned and we're ready to work. Now what I'm going to do, so that we have a nice clean surface to work on, we're going to wipe up our board, and I'm going to turn that right over so that we can now begin to show you how to prepare them. Now, the reason I'm turning the board over is not so much that we're worried about how the board's going to look for you at home, but this side of the board has been exposed to raw squid. So we're going to turn that over, and we have a completely clean area of a board now to show you what we did with the squid earlier. We took them, and if you've watched our programs on how to cook shrimp cocktail, we cook these in very much the same way. We took our tentacles, put them into a pot, and we took our flattened bodies. Now these were the flattened bodies, and you can see how they've curled up. And we cooked them in some water, some onion, paprika, white wine, just like the shrimp. And we cooked them till they were fork tender. Now the first time that you go and cook these, you're going to figure that they're already tender. However, make sure that when you take them out, you can take a fork and you can cut them with the fork. If you can't cut them with the fork, they're not quite done. And I want you to let them cook a little bit more. If you have to, you can let the shrimp water, just add more to it and just cook them right on down. The squids will be just as tender, but they're going to take a lot more time and a lot more water. Now, once we have these parts out, we already know what they all are, we're going to make our salad. We're going to take the tentacles, we're going to split them into pieces that we can pick up with a fork into the bowl. They're going to be the first ones to go. Then we're going to take our body parts and we're going to cut them into a bite-sized piece. Now this is an interesting way for you to prepare it, because you can prepare this ahead of time and you can have it all ready to go in the refrigerator, and the salad is nice. You don't have to worry about the entire meal being something that maybe everybody won't try. It can be just for the salad for the first time you taste it, and that will give you an idea of the light flavor that squid is known for. All right, so there we have all our pieces into our bowl. And if you notice, the color went from a very pink and white to now we've got this kind of a reddish color in the bowl. And we've got a lot of white in with all the curls that we have there of the meat. So what we want to do with that now is we want to complement that color. So we're going to add a little bit of a pasta noodle to that. And that's going to be our starch to go with that. We want to take and add a little bit of a purple onion, because as I said, we want to complement the color, and this onion is nice and hot, so it's going to give us a real good flavor. We want to bring out the flavor, because the flavor, if you've never eaten these calamaris, are very delicate. For if you really like shrimp, the taste is much, much lighter. So we don't want to mask or hide the flavor. We want to enhance it and bring it out. So we're going to cut some of those onions. All right, and we're going to leave these long, just like that. If you see them, how they look, that's what we want. I'm just making sure that they're all broken up, and that'll go in there. Now, for a lot of dishes, we will use a fresh garlic. However, for this particular dish, we're going to use a little bit of garlic powder. And the reason that I want to use the garlic powder is because I want this flavor of the garlic to go throughout the salad, and I don't want you biting into a chunk of garlic. So we take our powder, and we're going to put just a little bit of that over top. Now, to that, we're going to add a little bit of black pepper right across the top, because we're after all these colors. We want to have as much color into this as we can. We're going to put a little oregano in there, and I'm just putting a pinch, a little basil. We'll put 2 of the basil there. And then we're going to take some olives. We want this to be a nice, interesting salad. If it's something that you've never tried for the first time and someone's going to bring it to you, we want it to be interesting looking so that we can at least pique your interest and have you saying, gee, that even looks good. So we want this to have a lot of eye appeal. Now if you take a nice big olive like that, we just cut them in half and they go right in. And then we're going to take some of our green olives and we'll just put a couple of those right in there. And we're going to pull our paring knife for these. And we're going to cut right down the outside on the olive, and we're going to pop that right in there. And we'll put some of the green. We don't want a whole lot in there because these are pickled and we don't want too much of that flavor in there. So we'll just skin them right on around. Now don't forget, if there's something in here that you don't like, other than the calamari, you can change whatever you'd like. This is a basic salad. But I recommend that you try it this way because all these different flavors are really going to work well. I have a little bit of red wine vinegar. Now I'm going to dress this salad, and what we're going to do, since I have the spices in there, I didn't put my salt in there. We're going to put some salt. Now what I'm going to do is put the vinegar into this first. And the reason that I'm going to put the vinegar in there first is because vinegar is water-based, and I want that to dissolve the spices that I have there. So we're putting that right on there. And then we're going to give that a little bit of a stir. And I'll need another spoon for that. And we're going to toss that with the vinegar first. And that's to allow us, number one, to get a good mix here and take a look at this salad and see if we want to add anything else to it. And I do have an idea that I want to add into this because it does need some more green to it. But also I want that vinegar to dissolve all of our spices in there. So I've got that. Now I'm going to put the oil over the top. And this is an olive oil. And then we're going to change the color a little bit here. And I'm going to do that by adding a little bit of the chives to that. Now all they are is the top of the scallion. So we're going to cut the very top of them and discard that. And we're going to use the next part and we're going to cut that nice and small. And if you're worried about using your sharp knife at home for this, all you have to do, this is a nice one to practice with because you can hold this way back here and just flatten them right out and just rock the knife and take your time and make nice slow cuts over that and get nice tiny little rings of that fresh green onion. Don't forget now we've got the black, we've got the purple, we've got the red and white, we've got the white from the pasta. We've got a lot of nice color in there. And all of these things that we're adding are all fresh. So that goes into our salad. And we're going to toss that now and take a look at how that, if it's nice and wet, and if the dressing's on there the way we'd like it, and if the color looks good. And if you'll notice, we've got a nice bowl of salad here, a nice little pasta salad with nice green, fresh look to it. And we've even got some fish meat in there, so we've got a lot of protein in here. So not only is this pretty, it's very healthy for you. So I'm going to clean up. We're going to get set to show you how to cook some. But while I'm getting ready for that, I'd like you folks at home to watch this.
When Raymond was 6, I was afraid to take him to the playground because they were doing drugs. When he was 10, I couldn't let him play ball in the schoolyard because of the gangs. When he was 15, I wouldn't let him go to any dances because there could be a fight or a shooting. Now he's a man, and I realize he's never been a kid.
Give your children back their childhood. Do something now. Call 1-800-WE-PREVENT. Together, we will take a bite out of crime.
Welcome back. We have got our calamari salad all set, and we're going to let that wait for the end of the program and let you take a look at that. What I have now is our prepared fillets all ready, and we're going to show you how to make Parmesan. Now what you can do, shrimp Parmesan is a nice dish. It's kind of strong in its flavor, and we've been telling you how light and tasty these are. The other nice thing about these is the size of them. For the kind of money we're looking at, this is a rather inexpensive seafood. Now we've got our clean fillets, and we've got our veal hammer, and what we're going to do is go right on around, and we're going to tenderize that. Now you're going to see me work around the outside, then on the inside, and we're going to tenderize this and then we're going to turn it over. And you want to make sure that you get that all nice and even. When you begin working down one side with the mallet, you're going to notice that it's also flatter. So you want to go right back up the next side and then right back down again. Work in a pattern so that you can see what you're doing. And hold the hammer nice and loose and let it fall nice and flat until you have that completely pounded. When you turn it over, it should have all those little cube marks in it. All right, that's what we want. You want to be able to see those cube marks. What that has done is that it has broken up all the tissues that hold that together. Then we have our other fillet, because we're going to show you a couple of them. We're going to open that one up, and we're going to do that the same way. Now, if you remember for the salad how these curled up, it's very important. They're going to curl. We're going to flatten these as much as possible so that it will curl as little as possible. And then we're going to make little slits around the edges of it. So we're going to pound that out. All right, just like you would do for a veal cutlet. Once you have them all pounded, we're going to make the little cuts around the edge of it. And that will help us when we get that ready to be sauteed. Now, it's true with the size of the squid how tender they're going to be. And you will notice that the thickness of the flesh will also determine how tough it is. So the thicker the squid, the larger they are, the tougher they're going to be, the more you're going to have to tenderize them and flatten them out. And it's a good idea to tenderize them first and then get prepared, because after you've tenderized them, not only have we broken up the tissue holding it together, you've also released a lot of the enzymes that are in the flesh itself, and they are going to begin to react on it and make it more tender. So we're going to put a frying pan on, and we are going to prepare this so that we can have a light breading on that. And what I have with me here is a little bit of flour and some breadcrumb. And normally you'll see us take these and we'll mix up our eggs and we'll mix them with some milk and make an egg wash. What we're going to do today is we're going to put a little bit of egg and just use this nice straight, just the way one egg, just like that, and beat it up. And we're going to add just a tiny bit of milk to that. We want to make this nice and strong to hang on to our fillet here. So we beat that up in a nice flat pan. If you've got a bigger pan, it's real flat like these, that's just what you want to use. So we have a nice strong egg wash here. And that's what we're going to use. And we're going to just begin by putting this into the flour like that. Turning that over. And we make sure that we coat every bit of that with flour, and that's very important. That is the most important step, the first one. If any of them are more important than one or the other, it's important that it's completely coated with flour. Because now, if we were just going to saute this and you wanted to omit the other steps, you could, and you could saute that, because now that has been completely sealed, and that's what we wanted to do. Seal that and protect it from the heat. Then we'll turn that over. We just let that rest in there just a second or two. We drain that off and into our crumbs. And we pat them into it. And these we're going to press right on there. So that's all set. And we want this to rest just a little bit before we drop it into our pan. So we have that all ready. Then we can just stack up our breading station, as it's called, and we move that away, and that's ready for another time. Just like that. Now, I have a pan over here that is warming up, and we're going to saute or gently and quickly fry our cutlet. Then what we're going to do is make a light sauce to go on top of it. So we're going to be ready to go right here. We put some oil into the pan. Remember, I let the pan heat up first. It's much easier to control the pan that way. Put our oil in there. And we roll the pan around. And that distributes the heat evenly. And we're going to cook our filet. And I'm going to shake that gently. We make sure that it won't be stuck to the bottom. And then while that's cooking, we're going to get ready to make up our sauce for that. And we're going to put a nice fresh sauce. So what I have is, now I have the fresh garlic. That goes in a towel. Once we've done that to it, it completely breaks apart. We'll break off 1 clove of garlic. From the entire section, it's called a bulb. We're going to take and just smack that with the flat part of the knife. We have that. And the shell, the garlic will shell itself. It'll fall right out of that hard, crispy little skin that it's got. So that is our garlic ready for our next sauce here. Now this is already beginning to brown, so we're going to turn that over. Now that I've turned that over, and remember this was very thin because we pounded it that way, that is done. And when I say that it's done, it's going to stay in that pan. The heat from the pan is going to finish cooking that side, so we don't even have to worry about that. Now I've got my garlic smashed flat. I'm going to put a little puddle of oil here, and we're going to just go over that a couple of times. You could use the garlic if you just smashed it. However, it's a little tough sometimes when you're sitting there enjoying it. You get one little chunk of that garlic. So go over it. It'll stick less to the knife if you have that little puddle of oil there. And get that garlic real small. Just like that. All right, so we've got that nice and tiny and off of the knife. And then we're going to take a little bit of tomato. And we're going to cut them nice and small. So I'm cutting them in 1/4-inch strips. Then I'm going to turn that and cut that the opposite way, nice and small. Now I've got my tomato is ready. I've got a little bit of tomato paste here to thicken that sauce as we go along. I've got a little bit of chicken base that I use instead of the cubes. I also have a little bit of beef base I use for the same reason. What we're going to do is get our sauce started with a little bit more oil in the pan. We're going to roll that oil around. Now remember, this garlic is going to cook very, very quickly. So we're going to let that garlic just about change colors. And as soon as it starts to change, and I'm going all over the pan with this so that we get the heat nice and even off of that. There we go. Now as soon as you notice that that garlic is going to change color, you be prepared with the tomato, because we're going to put the tomato in, and that is going to stop that frying process. We're going to give that a little shake. And now we're going to put just a touch of the chicken the beef, and just a little bit of the paste in there. And we're going to turn that off. We have that set. And what I'm going to do now, we stir that all around. There we go. I'm going to put a little bit of pepper in there. And I'm going to, as that cooks to the pan just a little bit, the fire is now off. We're going to deglaze that or remove what is stuck on the bottom of the pan with a little bit of white wine. All right, so we have that. And now I'm going to just paddle that to one side. We're going to take our cutlet, pick him up and set that right in there. I'm going to spoon some of that right over it. And let that little bit of breading begin to pick up. Now that breading that we have, I've got a little mozzarella cheese here we're going to put over the top of that. What has happened now, the breading is beginning to absorb any of the sauce, the juice from the sauce right there. So we're going to put a couple slices right over that. And if you have pans that are the same size, take that little excess oil, dump it under your counter, go like that. If you don't have a lid, since you use the pans, you'll be all set. And the heat from the pan, the heat that we have put into the sauce, remember when we cook something like that, we are driving a lot of heat into that food. So you see it only cooked for a little bit, now they're shut off. A lot of good stuff's going on under there, at least I hope. I'm going to get us ready to show you how that's going to look. I also want to go over here and get the squid salad and let you see how that looks. Most of us have only ever tried calamari as a breaded ring with a lot of hot sauce. And either that or we've seen it on a fishing boat. So what I want to do for you is just to let you know that this is another way that you can prepare that, and it's going to work out really, really nice for you. Now, watch the steam that comes out of there. Okay, so that's why we turn that off to the side. And now we're going to pick up that filet. And this pan, we're going to clean this pan right over top of that. So the biggest thing is our preparation time, because the cooking time is very, very short. So next time you want to try a little something different to go along with your dinner, check out the seafood freezer for a little bit of calamari. Thank you for watching.